The challenge we have here is that idea of the Ohu, we must continually talk about it so that we give it a final burial.
Yes.
Because if you do not talk about it opendentially, then you will see that parents will pass this thing down from one generation
To
to the other, and then it continues to take us backward. As in the Igbo, these are our own brothers. Nobody willingly goes into slavery, even if they went into slavery, but then nobody willingly went into it. They were forced.
This is the stories.
The Osu or Ohu system has actually been a very sound menace on the socio-cultural, political existence of Ndi Igbo over the years. And it appears that most times a lot of people doesn't want to talk about it, or they talk about it in a covert way, in a very hidden way.
Yeah, because it's actually very controversial. So some people don't want to offend other people. Some other people feel like one way or the other they are trapped into the system because maybe they are married to somebody like that and they wouldn't want to. Yeah. Even the way we are saying it now, some people will not be comfortable with the way we are saying it.
They don't want to hear about it. They don't want to hear it mentioned.
Yeah. But one thing I want to say concerning a lot of these Igbo cultural practices that were like the norm in the past, we will talk about it on this channel. Not necessarily that we are trying to promote them in the current Igbo history, but for historical context, we cannot shy away from what was part of our culture and the legacies the
thing has brought upon us.
Yes.
And another perspective is that as Igbo people, we cannot be talking about the level of marginalization that our own people has been marginalized over the years.
Yes, within the Nigerian states.
And then now you look at yourself in the hindsight, and then you see that back home there is somebody you are maligning, all right? You are actually marginalizing them maritally, politically, and in so many other angles of their social life. They are treated as outsiders on the basis of the history of their origin.
Yes.
And then you see most times, I wonder why some group, Igbo, especially those who carry this at their head, like they carry it like a load.
It's very disturbing because even in the political, if you've gone inside the political system, sometimes these things create a lot of problem.
Yes, of course.
Especially when they appoint appointments and the zone to one level and you start seeing serious infighting within that zone.
Yes, of course.
They don't want these people to go into this place because of this. They don't want these people.
That they are going to malign the freeborn, the one.
Yes.
That the Ohus, the way they always put it, they will always tell you that Ndi Ohu, that once they get into political authority, what they do first is to empower their own people. And then,
but we are one people. This is something that happened.
Yes,
these things are not their fault.
That is why they call this a caste system.
Yes.
At least I for one, I am an advocate of an end to the caste system because if you go down into history in Igbo, even the slavery of the Igbo people, Igbos, listen, is on record that the Igbo people never took slaves from outside Igboland. A greater percentage of those Igbo slaves that you see were taken from one Igbo community or the other.
Yes.
And sold to one Igbo community
or captured during intra-tribal.
What happened was that during the time of slavery, transatlantic slave trade, you see a lot of villages. Those who actually started it were the Arab people. They went into a lot of villages, captured their fellow Igbo people, invaded them, and then captured them and sold them as slaves to the white people.
In exchange for some other commodities like tobacco,
for other commodities.
Firearms.
And then some other wealthy Igbos who were looking for extra hands in the farm place bought a lot of these people.
Yes, and even in their homes also, because some of those were...
And now, over the years, as time went on, they grew marginally in numbers because even though they were servants in your homestead, they were giving birth to children.
Yeah.
They were also growing as the community was growing.
Yes, and if you look at like what you're saying now, if you look at the way the Atlantic trade, slave trade was practiced. It's not the same thing like the way it was practiced in the Igbo system.
Yes.
Because in the other ones, it was very brutal when they traveled to America and some European countries. But down here, most of the wealthy people are there now. These people will just get them.
Yes.
They try to
Work in their farm.
work in their farm and make you some even become a part of their home family. They were given land.
Yes, of course.
Like if you come to the southeast now, some of the empty lands in the villages now are owned by most of them. They have a large portion of land.
Yeah, luckily for them. Anyways, I can always say that some of those people they call Ohu were lucky enough.
Yeah.
Now, for instance, I know some communities in Enugu that the owners of those they call slave, actually sent them away to a new terrain, maybe as a blockade between themselves and another warring community.
Yes, especially they live very close to the boundary.
What they do is they send them, some of them, maybe during the time of the end, towards the end of slave trade, when it was abolished. You see, they packed some of those slaves and then kept them at the boundary between the original community and those they were fighting against. Yeah. So that if anything happens,
they will be attacked first.
If they are attacked first, then the owners of them who feel Nahabu de Wadiana,
we know.
They will, or in my own community, they call it Ahmad, will know that something is happening and get ready for the war.
Instead of being taken by surprise.
But as Providence might have it, they are even caught up with development.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. Now their lands are one of the most expensive and all the rest. That is not the discussion for now, because for me, I don't see why such a practice should go on, especially in Igboland.
Yeah, because let me just say this is very serious, because a lot of them face a lot of marginalization for something that is not.
It's not even their fault.
Their fault. These guys, maybe something that happened 100 years ago.
Yes.
Some of them have never really been enslaved. It's only maybe their great-grandfather that was captured. But the way it's practicing is most of their children are like...
It's by blood descent.
Yes.
Now they say it's by blood descent.
So,
if your father was an Ohu or a slave, then all the descendants are slaves.
And these guys have been living with us in the community. They do everything.
And they contribute meaningfully to
everything, even more than some of the guys that call themselves. Yes, and then just because of an incident that happened over 150 years ago, 100 years ago, or more, then they are denied of their rights. Especially, if you come to the northern Igbo, some part of Oka, Enugu, and Abakaliki, we'll have the Onyishi system and all this. Some of them will stay when it's their turn.
To be the leader.
To be the leader of the community, to be jumped. Possibly to somebody who is actually younger than me, they will jump the person because they will feel that person is the original sort of the soil, and the other guy is also the soil. And some of them will even stop going to the meeting because normally the Onyishi cannot go to the younger person's house for a meeting. Yes. And then these are the some of them are just, sometimes you see the inhumane treatment is just something else.
It's appalling.
And in our Igbo, some people have tried though. In some communities, some Umuna has been abolished, but in majority of the Umuna, especially the inside the Umuna.
The truth is, they at the face value.
It looks like
in some of those communities where they've been abolished, in the surface value, it's as if it's been abolished. But when you go deeper into it, you see how they just talk about it like whispers.
But
in their actions and in their inaction, you will know that yes, truly it was abolished publicly, but in the secret places they still talk about them.
No, some communities, especially the Umuna, because it's stronger in the Umuna system. Yes. It's very, very strong. So the Umunas have, like in my own place, like in Igbo tradition, the eldest person has this authority to rewrite some of the practices. Yes. If he decides that it's his turn now, and he decides with the council of the elders that this thing, once they are in agreement, they can proclaim and then try to do most of their sacrifices and tell, in the Igbo practice about the spirits of their ancestors.
Yes.
They can talk to them that this is what they've decided to do because of development and all those kind of things.
Yes.
And they want everybody to be one. There are some communities in my place now. If you try calling somebody who,
you go in for it.
you may kill a cow.
Apart from, because the government they've been actually a lot of government
sensitization and regulations and
laws towards the abolition of slave, the caste system.
Yes, yeah.
But we cannot deny that
it's still existing. It's still very strong.
Nobody talks about it in the open. Like I've always consistently said,
Yeah.
they don't talk about it in the open. It's down to the woman. And then sometimes when you want to raise a discussion as it relates to that, and then, okay, maybe we are two Wadianas, and then somebody comes in, and we're discussing about Ohu or Wadiana stuff, and then somebody comes in, they use sign language and tell
you to stop because this person is
quiet, that this guy that is coming, Namabekwe stand there.
Yes.
Do you understand?
Yes.
And that is the way you always see it go. And then I continually tell people that there are things you don't choose in this life. There are some vital things you don't choose when you are born.
Yeah.
You don't choose when you are born.
Yes.
You don't choose when you die. Neither do you choose the family you come from.
The father, the mother, those things are...
Those who are insistent on the continuation of this practice.
Especially some of our political leaders. You'll be surprised to see big political leaders in Southeast. They are so much interested in this.
Yes.
When they talk about this, you just lose hope.
Especially when they know that their opponent is from the descendant of the Ohu people. Now, what they do is they help politicize it.
Yes, and then buy a lot of some people.
Okay, and I give you an instance. There is a local government under Buruburu in Enugu here that Buruburu forcefully made one of somebody who people refer to as Ohu.
Chairman.
Local government chairman. And now when you sit in the table of the so-called Amades, and then you hear what they say, and even in their actions and their inaction,
try to disrespect the person.
You see that whatsoever they would do is to, in fact, they must do anything to jeopardize the regime of that person. What you hear is, how can an Ohu, Moaba Amade, Pakwanaka, and then an Ohu, Adachia,
yeah, but like sometimes
and even in the delegation of political powers, you always see them. What they do most times is maybe if it's a local government of how many, maybe 2 constituencies, they take the urban constituency and then they give it to the Anamade person, and then the rural constituency they give it to the Ohu. Let them manage that one.
Yeah, and I think the younger generation don't care so much about it. Some people don't even know about it so much. Yeah. But some of our parents are so much.
The challenge we have here is that idea of the Ohu, we must continually talk about it so that we give it a final burial.
Yes.
Because if you do not talk about it opundentially, then you will see that parents will pass this thing down from one generation to the other, and then it continues to take us backward. As in the Igbo, these are our own brothers. Nobody willingly goes into slavery, even if they went into slavery, but then nobody willingly went into it. They were forced.
Forced, yes.
Because we always hear the story, and then we clap for those stories. We had the story of Igboland, where about 75 Igbos chose death rather than going into the life of slavery. That goes a long way to tell you something, that the Igbo people who even took their own brothers as slaves should even pay restitution to the family, those people that their generation were taken as slaves.
Yeah.
Because you can't be talking about the white men. Some people say that the successes of America was built on the shoulders of black Americans, right? And now you are seeking for a way to compensate the black Americans, but in your own backyard, in your own home back here,
you can't even acknowledge.
Still
have that.
There is still that acrimony. Do you understand? And then you see, stupidly, you see some of the so-called Amade. They go to the US or some other countries in the West, and then they still go and marry a black American or a black Briton, and then you come back home with it. But you have one, even a person more beautiful and more hardworking in the next neighboring community.
But you never marry the person.
And then you will never marry the person because you know his own stand. Have you forgotten that those ones, or you go to even Sierra Leone, where you have a large volume of slave deportees down to Sierra Leone and Liberia. You go marry them, and then people clap for you. But the next community, you go there, people will say that the same way it applies to the Ohu system. You also have the Osu system, which is practiced in Imo and some part of Abia.
Yeah.
Now, these ones are a different species of individuals on its own, but still the same caste system of segregative living.
Yeah, those ones are used, like the Osu guys, they particularly used for the spiritual purposes in Igbo culture.
Yes.
But in the northern Igbo, you don't have Osu. What they have is Ohu. The Ohu, there are other practices like that where they also do the sacrifices, but they are not called Osu. In the other ones, they are called Osu in Imo and some part of Abia. And when you get down to this one you talked about, the leadership part of it, I don't really know how we are going to, because like you said, we must continue to talk about it. Because I had a discussion with somebody one day, and like, why can't this people become the head of this Umuna? Said no. That this is their own father. You know,
they were not part of the initial covenant that their grandfathers made.
And those kind of arguments. And but these people have been with you for more than 200 years. They've done everything. Their great grandparents were the ones who built most of the Umuna and every other thing. Yes. When people were going to war, they went to war with you guys. Yes. I even fought more than some of you because your parents wouldn't want to bring out their own children. They will use some of them to wage the war. And they came back with victory, and all of you. Without them, some of you would have even been enslaved.
Yes, so without them,
some would have conquered some of the Umuna were conquered.
Even my grandfather might have even been a slave elsewhere.
Yes, now I know an Umuna in my place that was going to extinction. They had to merge with
another one.
Yes, now, and even since today, they are still standing for over 100 years or 150 years. So their people went into like a covenant, and they've been together like that. They cannot even marry each other because of fear of going into extinction.
I just believe that for us as Igbo to actually go forward, that we must emancipate the whole of Igbo people. It's not about creating a legal framework banning the segregative practices against the Ohu or the.
It has been done already. That has been done.
Yeah, there are frameworks. That is what I'm saying. It's not just about drafting those frameworks alone. The government and the people itself, for who those laws were made, must find a way to actually create a synergy between themselves and these other people. Then give them the credit they deserve.
Yeah.
All right. In their effort towards community building. Now, throw it open that there should be an open marriage. If somebody wants to marry from any part of the divide, it should be supported. Because I don't see, now, you see sometimes there is this brain our people has. Now, if you peradventure forcefully marry an Osu girl, an Igbo Amade, or Amade, then you marry an Osu or Ohu girl, and then there is calamity in the marriage. Now, what the people naturally will do is to tell you that, do you not know
that you shouldn't have gone to marry?
That the spirit of our ancestors, in this surah, that it's the one that is what's disturbing you, and that is why the marriage didn't work.
And that's why most people run away from it. Even some people who wants to go.
And I'm not forgetting that nobody is immune to crisis in marriage.
Yeah.
All right. You can even marry an Iwamadi or Osu anu Osu Ibia or Ohu anu Ohu Ibia, and then the marriage will be calamitous. A marriage that is bound to stand will always stand.